Well, Casey, why are you acting so surprised? We've always known that the WNBA doesn't know how to treat their stars properly. I'm not talking about the WNBA and the egregious way they treat the Great White Hope. Not only does this dump not know how to create stars, the disrespect, the outright defiance, it is coming from the president of the Indiana Felines, which means this is coming from Caitlin Clark's own team.
For weeks, many of you watching have been saying it in the comments on Reddit, on social media, that the WNBA was letting its biggest star get targeted. You saw the pattern, you saw the hits, and you asked when someone was going to finally step in. Well, the answer just arrived, but not in the way anyone expected. It wasn't a referee's whistle or a statement from the commissioner. It was a cold, hard number: 48%. That's how much All-Star Game ticket prices crashed the moment Caitlin Clark's injury was announced. This wasn't just a hit from Jacy Sheldon anymore. It became a multi-million-dollar mistake. And it just exposed the league's real motive, revealing what it truly takes for them to finally protect their #1 asset. We're about to connect all the dots, from the hit to the injury to the financial panic happening behind closed doors. If you're ready for the real story, the one the league hopes goes away, smash that like button to show us we're on the right track. Okay, let's filter out the noise and get straight to it. To understand how a single injury could cause this level of financial chaos, we have to rewind to the moment it all went down. The date was July 15th, 2025. The Indiana Fever were facing the Connecticut Sun, a matchup that has become one of the most consistently problematic in the entire...
This was honestly, I'm not going to share this whole clip because I don't know how much she wants the video of her basically crying on the court to be circulated around, but she walks down to the end of the court. You can tell that she's in pain. You can tell that there's something wrong. She goes to the, what's it called, like stanchion or whatever, the thing that holds up the basketball hoop on the other end. She hits her head on it. She is fighting back tears and she walks straight over to the bench. Now, when she goes over to the bench, she starts crying, and I've honestly never seen Caitlin Clark cry on the court except when she lost the national championship game. She keeps it together no matter what is happening.
The underlying tension finally boiled over. With less than a minute on the clock in a game the Fever were winning, Clark made a slick backdoor pass to a teammate. As she turned to run back up the court, she made contact with Connecticut's Jacy Sheldon. To the casual viewer, it might have looked like a routine basketball play, but the result was immediate and catastrophic. Clark grimaced, reached down, and grabbed her right groin, the same area that was already part of a series of injuries that plagued her 2025 season. But what happened next is what told the real story. This wasn't just a grimace and a quick limp. This was different. Clark tried to stay in the game, to push through the pain in her classic fashion, but you could see it on her face. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. After another possession, she slowed to a walk, clutched her groin again, and headed toward the baseline. And there, away from the play, with the camera still locked on her, the composure finally cracked. This wasn't just about a bad play or a missed shot. This was the emotional collapse of a player who has carried the weight of an entire league on her shoulders.
So, the big way they were able to neutralize Caitlin Clark, and I think it was almost an issue with Stephanie White as much as anything, is they were manhandling her. They were manhandling Caitlin Clark early in that game. Like, they had two hands on her. They were fully getting into the we are grabbing her and we don't really care. Like, that was their goal. Their goal was they were out there to maul Caitlin Clark. They had they had absolutely no intention of doing anything other than mauling Caitlin Clark. Like, they were not out there to play legit defense. They were there to maul Caitlin Clark as much as they possibly could.
Let's put this into context, because many of you watching understand that for an athlete like Clark, this moment goes deeper than just physical pain. This is a player who rarely shows this kind of vulnerability. We're talking about someone who has been shouldered, elbowed, and hip-checked all season and barely flinched. This is the same player who was dealing with a quad injury and a separate left groin injury earlier in the year. This breakdown wasn't about one hit. It was the culmination of months of physical punishment, of questionable officiating, and the immense pressure of being the face of the WNBA. It was the realization that her body was once again failing her, right before what was supposed to be her victory lap at the All-Star game. Seeing her break down like that was tough to watch. Let's be real. How often do you see a superstar athlete at the peak of their game become that overwhelmed on the court? Let me know in the comments if you believe this was about more than just the physical pain. That raw, unfiltered moment of despair was a warning sign, and just a day later that sign would translate into an official announcement that sent shockwaves through the league and its finances. The next day, the fears of every WNBA fan and league executive were confirmed. The news broke, not in a team press release, but on national television.
We do start our show, though, with unfortunate news out of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark announced today that she will miss both the three-point contest and the WNBA All-Star Game this upcoming weekend in Indiana after re-aggravating a groin injury in that final minute of Tuesday's win over the Connecticut Sun.
Just like that, it was official. The biggest star in the league, the player who had received a record-breaking 1.3 million fan votes, was out of the All-Star Game. This wasn't just any player missing the weekend. This was the main event. She was supposed to be a team captain, the headline act of the three-point contest, and the face of the entire showcase in Indiana. For the fans who bought tickets, she was the ticket. And this is where the story shifts. The WNBA is used to dealing with public relations issues. They can spin officiating controversies, they can release statements about player conduct, and they can try to control the narrative. But they were about to face a problem they couldn't spin, a crisis they couldn't ignore, because this time the consequences were not measured in angry tweets, but in dollars and cents. The moment that announcement went public, the financial dominoes began to fall. And the proof wasn't in a carefully worded press release. It was in the open market for everyone to see. The number was undeniable, and it was staggering. Here it is, the number that changed everything. The hard data that turned a player safety issue into a full-blown financial crisis for the WNBA. Within 24 hours of the announcement that Caitlin Clark was out, the average price for an All-Star Game ticket on the secondary market plummeted by 48%. Let's not mince words here. A nearly 50% price crash overnight is a catastrophe in any market. This wasn't just a slight dip. This was a vote of no confidence delivered by the invisible hand of the market. Every fan who decided not to pay top dollar, every reseller who had to slash their prices, every person who decided the event wasn't worth it without its main attraction, they were all sending a single, unified message directly to the league office. Without Caitlin Clark, the product is worth half as much. Think about the ripple effect. That 48% isn't just a number on a screen. It represents potentially millions of dollars in value evaporating from the host city's economy. It's the million-dollar mistake from the thumbnail. This is the language the league understands. This is a league that created the Commissioner's Cup, putting a $500,000 prize pool on the line to incentivize competition. They understand money. They understand stakes. And a 48% crash is a warning shot they simply cannot ignore. It's the first concrete proof of what analysts have been speculating about for months. If Clark's injuries continue, the WNBA risks losing its biggest draw and its primary economic engine. So the financial damage is clear. The message from the market is undeniable. But this crisis didn't happen in a vacuum. The question we have to ask now is, how did the league let it get to this point? To answer that, we have to connect the dots backward, because this financial crisis wasn't caused by one unlucky play. It was the predictable, almost inevitable outcome of a pattern of neglect that the league was repeatedly warned about. For months, fans and analysts have argued that Clark was being subjected to a level of physical aggression that went far beyond.
Gets pushed around, thrown to the floor during games, and teammates are standing there just looking, not doing anything. Sophie Cunningham will do something, while other players get a microphone put in front of them, doing their media interviews, while they regurgitate the same nonsense, the same word salad that Stephanie White lies says. Sophie Cunningham will say, no.
Normal, welcome to the league treatment. It was targeted, it was intentional, and it was designed to do one thing: mauling. That's not my word. That's the word analysts were using. And this wasn't just one team strategy, it was a strategy that was being implicitly green-lit by the league's inaction. And if you want the smoking gun, the undeniable proof that the league knew they had a problem and did nothing, we just need to look back 1 month before the All-Star injury, to the game on June 17th. In that game, Jacy Sheldon poked Clark in the eye. Moments later, Connecticut's Marina Mabrey forcefully shoved Clark to the ground, sparking a major altercation. And the most damning part of all this, the WNBA, in an official statement after the fact, admitted that the referees lost control of that game and had overlooked critical fouls. Let that sink in. The league officially admitted its officials were not capable of controlling the game and protecting the players. They knew in their own words that the system had failed a full month before the very same type of physical play led to an injury that would cost them millions. Their inaction wasn't ignorance, it was a choice. And that choice created an environment where an injury like this wasn't a matter of if, but when. And it was a choice that would soon force the people closest to Caitlin Clark to start speaking out. The league's admission that they lost control of the game wasn't just an empty press release. It was validation for everyone who saw the problem developing. But with the physical play continuing, the frustration began to boil over, particularly from those within Caitlin Clark's own camp. With the league failing to act, and even teammates sometimes appearing hesitant to step in, the burden of protection fell to others.
You know, things come. I feel like the attention and, you know, whatever that is, I don't want to say I get used to it, but to an extent, like you do, and you just accept that's how it's going to be. People are going to criticize you. People are going to praise you, no matter what it is. When you're playing on this level and you have this type of spotlight, whether it's me, whether it's any professional athlete that's at the top of their game, that's just how it's going to be. So
that perceived inaction on the court forced action off the court. Leading the charge was her own head coach, Stephanie White. After that chaotic June 17th game, she didn't hold back. She went directly after the league's officiating in a way you rarely see a head coach do. She stated, quote, "Bad officiating is a league-wide issue, and everybody in the WNBA is getting better, except the officials." She didn't stop there. She revealed that she had tried to warn the refs during the game, telling the media, quote, "I started talking to the officials in the first quarter, and we knew this was going to happen. You could tell it was going to happen. So they've got to get control of it. They've got to be better." But the frustration wasn't just contained to the locker room. It hit Clark's own family. Following the July 15th injury, the one that finally sidelined her, her brother, Colin Clark, posted a message on social media that said what everyone was thinking. The post, which was quickly deleted, read simply, "Make no mistake, this is on the reffing." Now, for us narrative analysts, the deletion of that tweet is almost more significant than the tweet itself. It signals that in a moment of raw, unfiltered anger, he spoke the truth from the family's perspective. The fact that it vanished suggests that pressure was likely applied from somewhere, an agent, the team, maybe even the league itself, to silence a narrative they couldn't control. What do you think is the real reason Colin Clark deleted that tweet? Was it his choice, or was he pressured to protect the league's image? Let me know your theory in the comments below. When a coach is openly at war with the officials, and a player's family feels they have to be silenced, it pulls back the curtain. it all points to one uncomfortable truth about the league's real priorities. A truth that the 48% price crash would ultimately expose. So, let's connect these final dots and expose the motive the title of this video promised. For months, as Caitlin Clark was subjected to this relentless physicality, the league remained quiet. The prevailing narrative they allowed to fester was that this was just her welcome to the pros moment, that she needed to get used to it. And this is where we get into the real story behind the story. Okay, now we're getting into rumor territory, but it's a theory that has been reported by insiders and discussed by analysts for months. The rumor is that the WNBA's marketing strategy was to deliberately downplay Clark's individual stardom in an effort to promote league-wide growth. The thinking was that if they could show the league was tough, physical, and competitive, and not just the Caitlin Clark show, it would lift all boats. In this context, allowing her to get roughed up without a flood of foul calls might have been seen as a feature, not a bug. It was proof that the entire WNBA was a force to be reckoned with. But that strategy just came crashing down. The 48% price drop was the moment that theory was proven to be a catastrophic miscalculation. It revealed one undeniable truth: the financial health of the entire league right now is inextricably tied to the physical health of Caitlin Clark. The attempt to promote the league by letting its biggest star take the hits didn't make the league look tough, it made them look negligent. And it led directly to their #1 asset being taken off the board, triggering a financial panic. It leaves you looking at the league's leadership and asking one simple question.
And this picture that I just came across, I'm like, what are we doing? Cathy Engelbert. She came out, it ain't been that long ago, like 2 weeks ago. Refereeing's pretty good in this league. In what league? What league allows this?
That is the real motive that was exposed. It wasn't about player safety. It wasn't about the integrity of the game. It was about the bottom line. The league was comfortable with the bad PR. They were fine with the angry tweets and the critical commentary. What they couldn't handle was a 48% market crash. The motive wasn't malicious, it was business. But it's a business decision that revealed their true priority. Action is taken not when a player is at risk, but when profits are. This entire fiasco has now put the league in a corner. So the final question is, what happens now? This is the new reality for the WNBA. They've been sent a multi-million-dollar message from the very market they're trying to grow. The hit, the injury, and the 48% crash weren't just a series of unfortunate events. They were the direct result of a league that chose to ignore a pattern of dangerous physicality until it showed up on their balance sheet. They wanted to prove the league was more than one player, but the market proved them wrong in the brutalest way possible. The league now has to prove they are protecting a person, not just a profit center, because the entire world just saw what happens when they don't. So what's your take on all this? Let me know your opinion in the comments below. Was this 48% financial crash the best or the worst thing to happen to the WNBA this season? We are going to be tracking the league's response to this financial pressure every step of the way. So if you want to stay ahead of the narrative and get the real story behind the headlines, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And finally, if you know another narrative analyst who needs to see this breakdown and understand what's really at stake, share this video with them.